So you may be thinking, what the fuck is a drone?
Come on, Dora! All right! Dora! Let's go! Dora, the Explorer! Dora!
Hey, so today I'll be explaining how we use drones to determine the health of flora in an agricultural area using multispectral cameras and RGB sensors. So usually we use drones to fly around, you know, they're pretty epic. They can do stuff like this. But today we're going to be learning about how they can improve our agricultural health around the world. Agricultural health is an important factor in the lifestyle of many, such as farmers, such as people who work to save the environment, volunteers, everything in between. So the agricultural sector is innovating to use drones as a source for surveying farmland and other areas caused by natural disasters, climate change, other things like that. So we're going to be learning about how these three things relate to that. Using RGB and multispectral sensors, we can determine the health of flora in an area. So for example, we'll be determining the health of this area right here, also known as Seton High School's oval, and we'll be determining how healthy the vegetation is. This is by using the VARI and NDVI index maps. These index maps determine the reflectivity of different light wavelengths, which also determines the health of a plant. RGB sensors are sensors that measure the values of red, green, and blue light reflected at them. These sensors detect red, green, and blue light represented in a value from 0 to 255. This sensor is found in any modern-day camera and uses the Bayer array and demosaicing function to create an image that you would see normal. The Bayer array, also known as the Bayer filter, is a mosaic filter that separates the red, green, and blue light into different levels on different pixels. This determines what shade of the pixel that the phone screen or the image produces. Demosaicing algorithm, also known as a debayering algorithm, is a digital image process used to reconstruct a full color image that you would usually see on your screen from incomplete color samples from an image sensor overlaid with a color filter array, also known as the Bayer filter. Multispectral sensors, also known as MSPs, are the foundations of advanced drone sensing. The ability to capture data at a high resolution while being able to determine the reflectance in light spectrums such as infrared and near-infrared light is very useful and is what the multispectral sensor does. An orthomosaic, also known as an interactive drone map, is a geometrically correct aerial image that is composed of many still images that are stitched together using software. Orthomosaics provide a similar view that you would see on Google Street View or Satellite View in Google Maps. These images can be used to make larger 3D maps of locations. Using the drone's GPS system, we can accurately create 2-scale maps of large locations, such as the oval, as seen in this image. Some interesting features that you might see in the orthomosaic here is that it isn't a complete square. This is because the software determines which pictures are most accurate and stitches them all together so that it creates a very accurate image. Another feature of the orthomosaic that you may have noticed is that the very right side that the basketball courts and the tennis courts are located on are slightly wavy compared to the very accurate center of the image. This is because they're the outside shots, so the stitching that the software does may overlap some images, causing it to be slightly different than what it would be in real life. Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, also known as NDVI, is an index which is a measure of healthy green vegetation. The combination of its normalized difference formulation and the use of highest absorption and reflectance regions of chlorophyll make it robust over a wide range of conditions. It can, however, saturate in dense vegetation conditions when LAI becomes high. LAI, also known as the Leaf Area Index, is a key variable functionally related to the plant biomass production. As seen in this image here, you can tell the difference between healthy and unhealthy vegetation due to the amount of near-infrared and infrared visible light that is reflected. So, as seen here, the healthy tree reflects 50% of near-infrared light and only 8% of infrared visible light. This is why unhealthy plants are usually a red-brownish color compared to green plants, which are usually determined as healthy. This is because the amount of red light that is reflected, which we can see, is much higher than what it should be, so our eye perceives that it is more red. Visibly atmospherically resistant index, also known as VARI, is a vegetation index for estimating vegetation fraction quantitatively with only visible range of the spectrum. So, this is by using an RGB sensor to determine the reflectivity of different light levels. So instead of using infrared or near-infrared light, it chooses to use just the RGB spectrums of light, which can make it less accurate, but also makes it easier for an image to process. Using the NDVI index map, we can determine that the top of the oval is more healthy than the bottom of the oval, and we can determine that the cricket pitch is in fact dead. Whereas if we use the VARI index map, as seen here, it shows a very different side of the story. Using the VARI index map, we can determine that the oval isn't very healthy at all. But the VARI index map isn't very accurate, as it still shows that the basketball court is slightly alive. To help easily understand the pros and the cons of each map type, I have created a chart. The pros of the orthomosaic map is that it's cheaper as it only requires the software and a drone with a camera, which you would assume that you would have if you're taking these kind of photos, and it's required for all other index maps. Although the cons are that you need very good understanding of agricultural information and it looks boring. The VARI index map, as shown in the middle of the chart, is easier to understand for agricultural beginners, cheaper than NDVI, and you can change the colors. But the cons are that it's not as accurate as NDVI, kind of harsh lighting, and bad lighting can change the accuracy. In the bottom of the chart, I have listed the pros and cons of the NDVI index map. Pros are it's the most accurate image and it's the easiest to understand information as it's the most accurate, and you can change the colors. But the cons are that you need a very expensive camera, i.e. a multispectral camera, as shown here, and it can take longer to render than VARI can, which is sometimes a statement of truth and sometimes it's just your computer being slow. New day, final part of the video. Let's get to the conclusion. In conclusion, VARI, NDVI, anything, they're all very useful for determining how healthy vegetation is, but overall I believe that NDVI is much more useful, so therefore a lot better, due to the fact that it's a lot more accurate and overall is easier to understand compared to VARI, whereas VARI uses the same terms and colors and patterns to determine whether it's healthy vegetation or unhealthy vegetation or anywhere in between. VARI is just less accurate, so take everything with a grain of salt as you're analyzing information. So overall, I believe that NDVI is a much better way of showing information and healthy vegetation overall.
In a break, I got me a chick, she driving me crazy. And now that I'm rich and now I'm the shit, she one of her babies. I ain't gonna lie, I won't even try, I'm whipping Mercedes. I'll fuck it a Bentley, I'm with my whole Wendy, yeah, that is my lady.
Hey, you all out of luck, I'm spitting my game. I think your bitch want me, yeah, come over to fuck. And we run a train like we playing zombies. Hey, she think I'm the best, I'ma flex on my ex. And these hoes let me fuck cause I'm coming up next. I got coin in my chest, I finesse her for neck. And I count up a check and a check and a check.